Game number 2 in the NBA Cup play for the Philadelphia 76ers. Tonight, they take on the red-hot Detroit Pistons. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 with Derek Kyle. I'm Devon Breeze, president of basketball operations. Great to see all of you on a Friday night. Thanks for hanging out with us as we come to you live from the Xfinity Lounge. And we have a lot to talk about. We'll get to the starters a little bit later. Our Bet365 pregame picks as well. See if we can stay hot ourselves. Kind of hot like the Detroit Pistons are, but maybe the Sixers can stop that tonight. Also, we'll get into what's been going on with the Detroit Pistons at 10-2, leading the Eastern Conference with that record. But we do have to start off with some health news for both the Sixers and the Pistons. And Derek, we talked a lot on Thursday about Joel Embiid playing against the Detroit Pistons, hopefully having the 2 days off over the weekend, back on Monday at home to take on the Los Angeles Clippers. But he is out tonight. Jared McCain sent down to the Delaware Bluecoats. VJ Edgecombe is in, so we'll obviously talk about him in the starting lineup a little bit later. But the Pistons, man, super shorthanded tonight. Shows how much they care about the Cup.
The stakes of the NBA Cup, not exactly as high as the proponents of it.
That is what we thought. So, tonight, Embiid out, though. No big fella for the Sixers.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we've known about Embiid now for a little bit, well, since yesterday, a little bit. So we've, I think, gotten used to that he's going to be in and out. He's now missing, his second game with the knee?
Yes.
Kyle?
Game number 2.
Okay. I thought it was game number 2. And look, they played pretty well at times. So I think that's interesting. But the Detroit one, obviously with Cade out, it's your offensive hub of your offense, and then the centerpiece of the second-ranked defense. Those are 2 really big losses. So this is a Detroit team that came in. They've won 8 in a row. They've been playing really good basketball atop the Eastern Conference. And now you have a real chance. I'm interested to see what VJ has, both because of the back spasms, but also because he has just been struggling offensively of late. I'd love to see a really good bounce-back game from him. But I'm interested to see if the Sixers can really push the pace now, because it's a Detroit team that's down a couple players, down some really key players, and the Sixers have a chance to steal one here.
Yeah, I don't like using the term must win in an NBA regular season game because it is a very silly way to treat an 82-game season where there's a lot of shooting variants and weird things that happen. But given that they are sitting Cade, Duren, Ausar Thompson, Tobias, who else am I? Ivy has been out for a while, so that's just kind of assumed when you play the Pistons. You got to win this game. This is you can't go to Detroit, play this version of the Pistons, and lose to Ron Holland and Paul Reed. I respect those 2 gentlemen a lot, but you can't lose this game. It's just not something that can happen. The Joel component of it all. I'm not trying to sound any alarm bells. Obviously, they said there was no structural damage. The only thing I want to say about Joel's knee and Joel's injury or ailment, whatever we want to call it, is no structural damage does not mean no injury. So the lack of clarification on that front from the Sixers and the fact that he's now missing another game with what they're only categorizing as soreness does not exactly fill me with sunshine, rainbows, and cinnamon rolls. We'll obviously see if he's able to play. Cinnamon rolls are up there with sunshine and rainbows there.
Okay.
So.
I just wasn't expecting it. That's all.
So we'll obviously see if he plays Monday against the Clippers. I would say a second game missed is at least one eyebrow raised from me. If he returns on Monday, we can just say they were being ultra cautious in the regular season. If he misses a third game and effectively misses a week of the season, then it gets to a point where it's we need some answers for what exactly is going on with this other knee now, which is a fun thing to have to think about because that's supposed to be the good knee. So hopefully this is just, hey, we think Detroit's not going to play anybody and we can kind of get away with.
Well, good news, Kyle. They're real good at giving answers about Joel Embiid's health.
Yeah. The transparency is second to none in Philadelphia.
But yeah, man, I mean, again, while we did know yesterday a little bit later in the day that he was not going to play, we thought that this was a good opportunity for him to get out there and again, show up against a team that has been playing so well, which we'll talk about in a bit. But just go out there, get those reps in, have the weekend off. You did miss the game earlier in the week, so a nice little time off in between Tuesday, Friday's game, and then Monday where we get to see Embiid out there. And then when you get this news that Jalen Duren is not playing, but yes, the new version of Paul Reed and even Stewart being there, who did not play in the first matchup on this past Sunday here in Philadelphia, this was a good chance for Joel to go out there and once again work some things off. Now, as Kyle just said, he'll then have off quite a few days, almost a week off of not playing in a game if he's back on Monday when they host the Clippers. And he needs to play, hopefully, against the Clippers if there's nothing really bothering him. They just wanted to give him some extended time off to give him a break. But after seeing him in that last game, scoring 29, we were really encouraged by what he did, playing his best game of the season last Saturday against the Toronto Raptors. And it's unfortunate that we won't get a chance to see him tonight. But we do also we talked about the McCain piece yesterday, but Kyle, we do get VJ Edgecombe back tonight where there was some questions, as you guys mentioned, about the back spasms.
Yeah, and I don't want to celebrate the fact that he's playing just yet because I have to see, as Derek brought up, you want to see how he looks. Back spasms, any back-related issue. If you have not had the misfortune of suffering a back injury, back pain, back ailment yet, God bless you for being under the age of 30 years old and having your whole life ahead of you. Once you go through a day or two where you have a back problem and you're like, man, I just can't move. I can't do anything. You will understand why back symptoms or back problems are treated with the seriousness that they are. So we'll see how VJ's fluidity and mobility looks tonight. We'll see how that impacts him in terms of the defensive movement, in terms of his explosiveness, attacking the rim, things of that nature. I'm glad that he seems to be okay enough to play. He's young. I'm not expecting this to hopefully be like a long-term issue. Probably was just an overuse type of deal where he's playing 38 minutes a night and his body turned to him and said, hey, man, you need to chill out a little bit. And maybe if nothing else, it sends a signal to Nick Nurse. Yeah, this is his first time. I know, Derek. I see. I understand, but maybe, just maybe, someone can now get Nick Nurse's ear and say, "Hey, what about 32 minutes a night for VJ Edgecombe instead of 38?" It's going to be a little bit trickier tonight because they're down several rotation guys. But some good news: Dominick Barlow is back, baby. So at least they'll get some front court help, and in a weird way, that might help level out the rotation where we talked about it earlier this week. Perhaps Nick will just play bigger more often, and there'll be less of the three-guard looks, and that will allow you to get Maxey, Grimes, and VJ Edgecombe all a bit of rest in this game. But I wouldn't count on it.
Rothman Orthopedics, if you have some back problems, go ahead. We got you covered. But yeah, it's something that you do have to pay attention to, and the way that he plays athletically, going against, let's say, a player like Ron Holland tonight, having to chase around Duncan Robinson out there on the floor. You do worry about that, and he is very young, but he plays a very grueling sport, and all the practice and the running and all that, getting hit in the back, you know that was something that they paid attention to, and it's just like the NFL. If they know you have something like Jared McCain's finger, his thumb, or something like that, where they'll swipe at a ball, don't think he's not going to go around the screen and have somebody not put a little forearm in his lower back and see how he responds to that and maybe get a little bit of an advantage tonight for the Detroit Pistons. So we'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully he's able to go full strength tonight as usual, and we'll see what the Sixers also have in Dominick Barlow as we talk about him in a little bit as well. But no Cunningham, Duren, and Thompson. Ivy, Tobias Harris as well for the Pistons. Joel Embiid, Jared McCain out for the Sixers. This is game number 2 of the NBA Cup.
I love that you don't even think to add Paul George to that group. He's just everyone just knows he's not playing and will never play.
No need to bring that up. We'll bring it up though if he's not suited up on Monday against the Clippers when we have pregame coverage. When we come back, we'll talk about the red hot Pistons who have won 8 games in a row. And while, as Kyle pointed out, kind of a must-win with all those guys out, Well, they took care of business against the Chicago Bulls with all of those guys out just in their last game on Wednesday. So we'll talk about them. We'll talk about the starters and Dominick Barlow as well, and we'll give you our pregame picks. Sixers, Pistons, Game 2, and NBA Cup play. Sixers 0-1 so far in Cup play, and point differential, as Kyle mentioned on Thursday, only lost by a point to the Boston Celtics. So it's important to see how things play out tonight. We'll get back to it right here on the PHLY Sixers pregame. All right, everybody. You want to bet on tonight's game. You want, especially with all those guys out. You're like, yeah, my team's going to win. Well, if you feel that good, if you feel about your all-star point guard and what he can do and the rookie playing as well tonight, maybe some rebounds from Barlow returning. Well, Bet365, whatever the moment's never ordinary, at Bet365 with over 90 million users worldwide. You need to be a part of that as well as you make your plays for tonight's game. And with the cup going on, let me just refresh it really quickly here and go back to my app because you guys know I'm telling you the truth because I make these for the show all the time. But Bet365 right now has a boost for a same-game parlay on any NBA Cup group stage game plus 50% super profit boost. They're calling it the Friday 50. And if you're a new customer and you're like, oh, I have to get in on that, well, here's how you do it. New customers, you get $300 in bonus bets when you sign up using the code PHLY365. And when you make your first bet, win or lose, you get that $300. Here's all you have to do is deposit the $10, place a bet for $5, and you get $300 credited to your account no matter what happens. And you can use those bets on the parlays. You can use them on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more as well right here at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, hopefully this doesn't describe your night tonight, but we've all been there at times where you get to a friend's house, you're ready to watch a big game, and their setup is a mess. Lagging, buffering, you can't follow the action, and you're left hanging. But if you call yourself a basketball fan, you have to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination where you can find the best games and your favorite teams all in one place. The way that you watch is next level. Got all the action right in your living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K. It's so clear that it feels like you're in the arena. On top of that, you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. Next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box.
We're back on the PHLY Sixers pregame show. Sixers Pistons NBA Cup game number 2 for the Sixers and the Pistons. Red hot, Kyle. Here are their 8 straight wins. Magic, blowout. Also, a 12-point win over Dallas. Those two are at home. On the road against the Grizzlies, a win. Home against the Jazz. At Brooklyn. Of course, that's a blowout. They beat the Sixers by 3.
Of course, that's a blowout is right. Jeez, they've been terrible.
They beat the Sixers by 3 last Sunday, 5 days ago here at home. Third quarter, got them again. The Sixers did. They followed that up with a 2-point win on a back-to-back night over the Wizards in Detroit, defeating the Chicago Bulls on Wednesday without without Duren and many others, Harris, as you mentioned. And in the last game against Chicago where they beat them 124-113, former Sixer, Paul Reed went nuts. 28 points, 11 for 13 from the floor. He was 2 for 2 from 3, and he had 28 points with 13 boards, 6 assists, 4 steals, 6 offensive rebounds, 7 defensive rebounds, only 3 personal fouls. Yes, he did turn the ball over. He gave you the full Paul Reed experience, but he was fantastic in that game. He led all scorers in that game with the 28 points. So I point all that out that, yes, they are missing Cunningham, Duren, Harris, and Thompson tonight. Ivy's been out for a while, but they're very well coached. Mm-hmm. They've all played with one another from a season ago outside of Duncan Robinson, even with Holland in there. Danish Jenkins had a really good game in the starting role with 18 points as the point guard for them. They're very well coached. They know how to play with each other, and they're very tough.
That's the thing, is that they are a very classic Detroit Pistons teams. Every good team in Pistons history is always just this like pain in the butt, tough-minded, blue-collar defensive team. Yeah. The bad boys, the 04 version. That we'll say early 2000s version. The 04 one won the title, but they were very good for a 3 to 5 year period there. Made all their money on the defensive end. And now again, they obviously have Cade usually as the head of the snake, but it starts with defense for them. So they're very close to Denver is slightly ahead of them as the number 2 defensive efficiency team right now. They're like half a point better, but they're a top 3 defense. You feel the length, you feel the athleticism, basically every possession that you play them. That's going to be one of the things that I'm watching tonight is like without Ausar, without Cade as a switchable guy on the perimeter, and then Duren not being back there. I know Paul can be a credible switch defender in space, and certainly he has his defensive merits. This should be a game where Maxey and Edgecombe have an easier time getting going, because that was kind of the story of the previous meeting earlier in the week. Was the Sixers defense was pretty good. They held down Cade for that first half. He got going and he wins the game, and credit to him. But the defense was good enough to win that game. It was Philadelphia's offense that was not able to come through. And you give a lot of credit to Detroit's switching scheme and communication and toughness for that. So that's their calling card. It's how they win games. It's how they've set up to open the year. It's how they're going to play. It's probably how they're going to outlast teams in the playoffs if they're hoping to win a round or two. So despite all these guys being out, and in fact, because all those guys are out, you almost have to prepare for more of these guys are just coming for a fight. And I don't mean that as like maybe with Stewart it's going to come for a literal fight. But everybody else is coming knowing we don't have all the big guns tonight, so we got to bring our hard hats. So that's basically what I'm expecting tonight.
Smoggy with a good point. You said that the 04 Pistons team made their money with defense. Chauncey's diversified. He's got a bigger portloportfolio now.
Apparently he lost a lot of money on other things.
I'm just saying he has other ways that he's trying to make money.
Yes.
No, look, B-Ball Paul getting 28 and 13 or whatever he got almost brings me calm, because he's going to be crossing dudes up on the perimeter.
Or attempting to cross dudes up.
And especially against his former team, he's going to want to absolutely.
I have a feeling Paul might try to do a little too much tonight.
Who did he get into
get himself in trouble.
Oh, it was Bona. That he and Bona got a little chippy on Sunday.
Yeah.
I will say, I will defend Paul Reed on that one. He got a double tech, and it was one of those where I thought Adem did a lot of the instigating.
We were back here. We were
shouting.
Like, they got a double?
And Paul just was like, what do you want me to do? He's chasing after me.
No, look, this is a Detroit team that has struggled offensively. Even with their winning, they're a mid-pack offensive team. They really don't have enough shooting. And you take away that defensive identity. And when you're talking about, taking away Duren and Thompson, like you're talking about a lot of and Cade too, a lot of their defensive identity. And they don't have the guy really creating shots for others. Like this and look, I know someone in the chat earlier brought up, you've got obviously Paul George out, which we barely even talk about, but he's been out all year, still out. Embiid out, McCain out. Like you've got the Sixers missing guys too, but they have the hub of their offense still here. They have a lot of guys who can create shots off the dribble, create shots for others. They have the shooters still in the lineup. Like this is a Detroit team that was, for a high level team, and with their record, like they're high level. Devon went over their winning streak. It's not exactly a murderer's row. A lot of teams that are really disappointing.
Got to play who's on the
year.
schedule. Though.
They're taking care of business, which good defensive teams usually do. It's a little easier to be consistent on that end of the court because you're not as reliant on the shot. But with a team that has really high aspirations and they're just kind of barely getting by offensively, when you take Cade out of that offense and you take a lot of their linchpins out defensively, Sixers really should be able to find some success here.
Absolutely. Again, Detroit, very well coached. Bickerstaff is doing a great job and making sure that the identity goes back to what it used to be. As Kyle said, it's just how ironic is it that this is another version of a tough Detroit team for what they are, but they can also score the basketball. And even without Cunningham on the floor, they have found other ways to do so. And I am very curious to see of how, when you mentioned Barlow, who we'll get into, I mean, that's a good guy to have back when you have Paul Reed that is really active and he can get on the glass. He has a nose for the basketball off the rim. And Dominick Barlow is a player that you would like to have out there. And the way that Jabari Walker is also playing, and at least in the last few games, he has also been able to really hit the glass and do some things there and get on the floor. These are the hustle guys, the extra effort, do all the little things type of plays. And to your point, when you have those stars out, you have to go the extra mile, and that's the identity of what the Pistons are, no matter who's in the lineup. and that's what you're going to get from them tonight. So I hope that these guys are ready. Yeah. Don't take them for granted, and go out there and just compete and try to get a win.
The NBA Cup stage, baby. You can't.
That's right.
Can't fall flat on your face out there.
Build those points up.
You mentioned Barlow.
Yes,
Devon. I would be interested tonight, based on Detroit's inactives, their lack of real size at center with what's out there. I wonder if you might play Barlow as a little bit of small ball center tonight, especially hopefully this would be a get right game for a Dem where he can score some easy baskets, make a difference as a shot blocker, rebounder, whatever. If he doesn't play well, I know that Barlow is probably not going to play a ton of minutes tonight coming off of the layoff. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing if you could get 5-10 minutes from him as a small ball guy and just see what that looks like. Because that's something that we already saw it in game 1 of the season. Nick Nurse was confident enough in Barlow with Joel on the minutes restriction to say, okay, Barlow's the biggest guy on the floor for us. We'll play more switchable and small and put offense on the floor around him. I don't know that he would do that tonight specifically, but I do think it's a team with who's available and how they're set up that you could get away with it a little bit easier. So I'm curious to see if Nick decides to go that way at all tonight.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's on the one hand a good matchup for that with everyone that's out for Detroit. On the other hand, it is his first game back, and they're probably going to take it a little bit cautious. I don't expect him to get a ton of minutes. He's been out for, 3 weeks?
Something Since the second game of the year.
A long time. Quite a long time for
a
laceration, as everybody has made the jokes about. So I think, just it's going to be one of those classic 5 to 10 minutes, get a little bit of time up and down the court. But I do think it would be interesting to try, especially if you've got B-ball Paul. Let's say maybe somebody struggling in space or a Dem gets in foul trouble. Something goes haywire with your center lineups. You try something different.
Breeze put up Nux on the screen, so we got to let everybody know while you're in here. We thank you. Hit the like button. It's very simple. Please doesn't just quick tap of the button right there. Hit the like button. Let us know how we're doing here tonight. Don't forget, post game, we'll be right with you 10 minutes after the game goes final or sooner, depending on, of course, how things go, and we get ready to get back to you. So hit the like button and make sure that you're with us for post game 10 minutes after the game goes final. So let's get to the starters tonight because of what we've talked about with Barlow. And also with the Pistons, we'll run out there as well. The Sixers tonight have starting, and we've seen this lineup. So Maxey, Edgecombe in the backcourt with Oubre, Watford getting the start over Barlow, and Andre Drummond at the 5. So with that, I think about Paul Reed getting the start for the Detroit Pistons, and I ask you guys, Kyle, start with you, with the activity of, now look, we know Drummond can still rebound, but the activity of how much of a different type of center he is versus Duren. Similar in a way where they attack the glass, but a more agile, even though Duren's been fantastic this year. He's more, Paul Reed is more slippery, if you will, just because of the smaller body type and all. How do you look at that matchup at the 5 when we talk about the little things? Of course, even though Paul Reed dropped 28, he is the hub, Derek, tonight for the Pistons.
What a crazy world we live in.
We know that he's used differently.
I would ask who thought we'd ever see the day, and the answer would be Paul Reed.
Paul Reed.
So I love B-ball Paul, by the way. Anything I say that's laughing about Paul Reed, I loved covering him. I loved watching him play, all that. So Andre Drummond has a huge size advantage against him, and that's where he has to leverage that. It has to be defensive glass, offensive glass. One of the reasons that Paul is no longer with the Sixers, not a major reason, but when he was out there against the Knicks in that series and you're dealing with the Mitchell Robinsons, he was very clearly overmatched in some of those minutes, right? So against truly big NBA centers, Paul still has decent amount of struggle, just trying to keep teams off the glass. Andre's going to have to leverage that. The Watford starting thing, I don't think we're surprised that he's in that spot because, and Derek mentioned this earlier in the week, I think he's the cleaner fit next to Drummond. At least I think you probably believe in his shot more, which is pretty important given that I don't believe in it a ton yet, but I believe in it more than Barlow, who has not hit a 3 yet and has not looked close on most of his attempts that he put there. You're not going to start Barlow first game back either anyway. So I like this group well enough. I honestly think they could throw out just about I won't say just about anything. I would have been interested in a potential 3-guard lineup too. Maybe tinker with that a little bit with a shorthanded opponent. You say, hey, bring Quentin Grimes in. We bring our forwards, our size, athleticism.
And it does match up well with Jenkins, Green, Holland, and Robinson, right?
But I do think Nick likes having Grimes as that first guard off the bench. It allows him to pull VJ at like the 6-7 minute mark, get him some rest.
No McCain.
Yeah, and they've staggered the rotations that way. So keeping things mostly the same, totally understandable.
Yeah. No, and, I mean, look, B-Ball Paul is more mobile, and he's can take you off the dribble, but he's not really much of a shooter still.
Right.
Like, especially from 3-point range.
2 for 2.
You will live with him taking that. Andre's not going to have to go out there and try to chase him too much. And they don't really have anyone right now to, give him like those short roll passes that he was really thrive on with Harden a couple years ago. I'm interested. I'm really interested to see how Paul responds to his big night and a matchup against his former team. It could go either direction. I know which way I'd put my money down.
Would you do that at Bet365?
If I was going to, it absolutely be at Bet365, yes.
No, but last game, just to talk about the others.
Do they have like a Paul Reed up and under attempts on Bet365?
Up and under, no, but we can
Okay.
we have direct contact with them, so we can talk to them about that. There's what they did in the last game. Jenkins again, 18 points, 12 assists in the starting role for Jenkins. Javonte Green, who hit some big shots against the Sixers last Sunday.
He's been having a good start to the season. Has fit right in with that.
9 points, 4 boards, so he was good with 1 steal as well. You also had Ron Holland, 9 points. He was 4 for 11 and 1 for 3. That wasn't the case against the Sixers last Sunday. He was hitting his outside shots. He and Thompson were, so we'll see what happens tonight. 9 points for Holland. And Duncan Robinson, 23. He had 7 made threes on 10 attempts, 8 of 13 from the floor with 2 rebounds as well off the bench. You had Karis LeVert with 17 points, who we know can fill them up.
And his shots against the Sixers felt like they barely hit the net. When he was in, he was on. I will say one thing I noticed on rewatching some of the Detroit game Sunday. I thought VJ learned what it's like to cover an NBA shooter in Duncan Robinson, where there are a few possessions he cheated off just enough. And Duncan Robinson does not need a lot of time or space. And you could see after the shot went down, VJ was like, damn it. Like, that's on me. Like, I know I screwed up. And the recognition is good. But it's also like, again, that's part of going through this first season is you learn the difference between good college shooter and the amount of recovery time you have, good NBA shooter and the amount of recovery time you have.
All right, folks, it's time for the Bet365 pregame picks brought to you by Bet365, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. When you download the app, use code PHLY365 to sign up. All right, let's get to it. Bree, we got to get your picks in first. Bree's bet. 5 made Tyrese Maxey threes. Love it. Plus 215. Jenkins, you don't have a chance tonight, my friend. You're going to get a lot. You talked about it. Covering in an elite shooter. Let's see what Jenkins does tonight. 5 made threes for Bree. That's plus 215. Love it. And mine, I went with the same game parlay of Edgecombe, 3+ assists on the night. And Tyrese Maxey with 7+ points in the first quarter, setting the tone early for the team. So, Bet365, you're just like, first quarter, I didn't know they had that. Well, they do. And there are a lot of cool different features on there that you can toy around with, even the up and under, which we're going to talk to them about, that Derek wants for Paul Reed's odds. So, again, if you want to sign up, use code PHLY365 when you use the app, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. And tonight, if you sign up quickly enough, you have an opportunity to use the 50% profit boost on any same game parlay tonight for this basketball game or any of the cup games tonight in the association.
The Chauncey Billups special.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Boosted 50%, my friends. All right, that'll do it for us, everybody. Again, 10 minutes after the clock goes final, the buzzer goes 0, and the clock goes final. All of that stuff there in Detroit. We'll be back with you here for the PHLY Sixers post-game show for Derek, Kyle, and Bree. I'm Devon. Everybody get back to us and hit that like button. We'll see you after the game here on the PHLY Sixers post-game show.
We all silly like the mayor.